going back to the battlefield. Instead of having real battles, we played ball games. And all over the world, we saw this manifest as play, pleasure, joy, sport. Perseverance, therefore, has to be presented in the context of a negative. The negative that has been imposed either by the elements or by ourselves. But that perseverance gets conquered one way or another. And isn't it amazing that it is sports, in this particular example, that does it? Sports which in and of itself is the epitome of a competition, where we can have these real emotions evoked. All I have to say is territorial Kapp, and some of you know what I'm talking about. The state's perspective then on perseverance is multifaceted, like a gemstone. Whether it is your faith that helps you, whether it is your art, either an art in language, in music, in some other form, or whether it is a friendly, joyful competition. The critical component here is perseverance. It is human nature to move forward through time. And one of the most unique and special ways that we understand perseverance is because we, as a species, sometimes in art, sometimes on walls, and sometimes on paper, are uniquely situated to move these stories forward through space and through time. We are endowed, in my view, with this capacity to move these stories forward, that we never hopefully make these mistakes again. That perhaps we do have to persevere and exist against the elements and a changing world in that way. But with any luck, and with a little bit of grace, hopefully we will be able to look at this and say, wouldn't it be nice to have sports without internment in the future? Wouldn't it be nice to have art and music and literature without internment in the future? Wouldn't it be nice if we could enjoy all of these methods of persevering without actually having to persevere? This is the aim of civil society. This is what we work towards. And so, humbly, I present this as the state's perspective. Our future is bright. We know what this history is because of the hard work of the folks here. And so many of you who have helped bring this work. Let us not waste the moment. Let us learn from it. Let us pass it on. And let us enjoy sport without having to use it as a method to persevere. Please enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome. My name is Elizabeth Kapp, and it has been my privilege to work with the Nisei Baseball Research Project and the Arizona Baseball Legacy and Experience to bring this exhibit to you tonight. Rebuilding Home Plate honors some of the Japanese-American ball players who were forced to make the Arizona desert their home during World War II. Over 30,000 Americans of Japanese ancestry were imprisoned at incarceration camps called Poston and Gila River. Despite being stripped of their constitutional rights, the prisoners found a way to hope. Inmates were faced with sparse land and military barracks as their new home, but they persisted. They found beauty and possibility in the face of adversity, in the face of rejection, in the face of imprisonment. At Poston Camp, inmates planted gardens and watched them grow, turning the desert landscape green. At Butte Camp in Gila River, a man named Kenichi Zenimura saw potential in the space beyond the fence outside his Block 28 home. Through these efforts, imprisoned Japanese Americans took back the intangible things that were taken from them: their identity, their community, their friendships. Before incarceration, baseball was entertainment, a job, a hobby. It was a way to pass the time. Inside the camps, it became so much more. The story of Japanese American incarceration is one of pain and sorrow. But in preparing this exhibit, I discovered it is also one of hope and joy. By building that home plate and that ball field, Kenichi Zenimura brought joy into a prison. He gave his fellow inmates something to cheer for when no one was cheering for them. So tonight, as we open Rebuilding Home Plate, I hope you find beauty despite hardship, hope despite isolation, and inspiration in something as simple as a game. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Bill Staples. Got a little feedback. I'll try to speak loudly for the folks in the back, and I have some visuals that I need to share as well. I must confess, I feel old. I may not look it, but I feel old. In 2004, I was introduced to this story, and some of the first people I've met, their names have been mentioned here today. Masa Noshita, Ted Namba, Mary Thomas. Between 2004 and 2005, I had the pleasure of meeting with them, learning this story firsthand, capturing it, and sharing it with others in the biography of Kenichi Zenimura. So just wanted to share that. I'm going to talk about the history of Zenimura's home plate, but to tell the significance of the home plate, we need to first understand and appreciate its significance. The story of this wooden home plate begins with the man who created it, the father of Japanese American baseball, Kenichi Zenimura. He earned this role, or this title, because he was a man who could use the game of baseball to break down barriers and build bridges between countries, communities, and individuals. In fact, he was instrumental in planting the seeds that led to the 1927 tour of the Philadelphia Royal Giants. That's a Negro League All-Star team, and that's the jersey I'm wearing here today. And he also helped plant the seeds for the 1934 tour of Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig, which helped spark the start of pro baseball in Japan in 1936. And when most people see this famous photograph from 1927 of Zenimura and his teammates, most people see 4 Japanese American ball players with 2 white major leaguers. And on the surface, that's true. But I also see 4 Buddhist baseball players, as that was what drew me into this story. I wanted to learn more about this community of baseball-playing Buddhists in the Arizona desert during World War II. So that was my first conversation with Howard Kenzo Zenimura back in 2005. And I asked him about the role that Buddhism played in his father's approach to the game of baseball and in life. And he said that really it was his mother who was the devout Buddhist, but he said, yes, my father was a Buddhist, but baseball was his religion. So the word religion comes from the Latin religare, meaning to reconnect. And for Zenimura, baseball was a path, a practice, and a vehicle that allowed him to connect with others on a level where they could see and celebrate their shared humanity. And as a baseball Buddhist, he also used the game to bring joy into others' lives and help minimize suffering in the world, the true responsibility of all Buddhists. And I personally think that Zenimura was a bodhisattva, and that's somebody who postpones their own enlightenment to help others out of compassion. So with this understanding, I want us to all reframe the way we think about Zenimura's home plate. It is not just some old wooden material from World War II. Zenimura's home plate is a religious artifact, one that should be treated with reverence and handled with the spirit of love and respect in which it was made. Next, I want to talk about some of the people who were involved in that history, starting with Tetsu Furukawa. Tetsu was one of the young men who was coached by Zenimura at Gila River. He was born in 1927. He's still alive today, but he couldn't be with us physically. He's with us in spirit. Tetsu enjoyed writing haikus that captured his memories of World War II and baseball behind barbed wire. So I thought I would read just a few of those haikus to share the history of home plate. And this one is actually on the wall in there. Haiku number 1, 9066, humiliation, locked up, day of infamy. And that speaks to February 19th, 1942, the day that President Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9066, which made the incarceration possible. And just as Zenimura had done 2 times in his life before, when Zenimura arrived here in Arizona, he built a baseball field to get that community connected and to give others hope who were suffering. So the next haiku is about Coach Zeni. It says, known as Coach Zeni, always with respect and love, man, strict but gentle. Furukawa knew Zenimura well, and this really speaks to Zeni's character, a man of discipline, respect, and love. The final haiku is Zenimura Field, Gila Camp's finest pastime many years ago. And this one speaks to the history of the camps, and for me it's an opportunity to honor Masa Noshita, the man whose name we've heard several times today. He became the original caretaker of Zenimura's home plate, and when it first surfaced in the 1990s, he used it as an education opportunity to teach the public about this chapter of U.S. history. So Mas was in a unique position to be the steward of this history, as he was both a member of the Arizona's Japanese American community and an honorary member of the Gila River Indian community. So Mas was blessed by both communities and entrusted to keep the history alive and educate others so that we would never make the same mistakes again. When Mas passed away in 2015, JACL President Ted Nabo took on the role as the caretaker of the home plate. And sadly, when Ted passed away in 2016, I humbly accepted that role as well. So in the spirit of reframing the familiar, I propose that the RG, the Royal Giants on my jersey, can also be GR for Gila River. So this is my Gila River jersey as well. So with that, I want to honor Masa Noshita, Ted Namba, Furukawa, Kenso Zenimura, the Gila River Indian community, and all those whose lives were negatively impacted by the events of World War II, and those whose lives were positively impacted by the life work of our baseball bodhisattva, Kenichi Zenimura. And in closing, I'd like to end with a haiku inspired by Ted Furukawa and written by yours truly for this event. So here it goes. Rebuilding home plate, we come together today with respect and love. As someone who worked behind the scenes with the team who helped make this exhibit possible, I can say that everyone involved has approached this project in the same spirit of respect and love as all those who came before us, which I'm sure you will see as you walk through the exhibit, Rebuilding Home Plate. So thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Mark Twain once said, the 2 most important days for a person is the day he was born and the day he finds out why. For myself, Kirio, Nakagawa, and our family, in 1996, I saw my son as a little leaguer, as an all-star with Brandon Zenimura, who is Kenichi Zenimura's great-grandson. I thought that these little Yonsei, 4th-generation kids have no clue that their uncles were these amazing crusaders for our history. They played with and competed with Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Jackie Robinson, Lefty O'Doul. So we started our Nisei Baseball Research Project in 1996. In 1998, I brought our godfather, Noriyuki Pat Morita, most of you know him as Mr. Miyagi, and Howard Zenimura, to the Phoenix Hall of Fame Museum. And the next day, they were going to, 55 years later, get to go revisit their former home. Pat was only 11, Howard was 14. And so 55 days later, Governor Mary Thomas greeted us with the Gila River Indian Tribal Council. And I had never seen a connection between Japanese Americans and the Gila River community. Till that moment, Governor Mary Thomas told us that I was a little girl and I stood outside the barbed wire watching baseball, and you, Howard, and And Pat, you were probably, a spectator and played also. But we never were able to go inside the camp, and that we knew your elders were dying on our sacred land. Your babies were being born on our sacred land. Your teenagers were volunteering to fight for our country and coming back as being killed in action with our memorial that's at our Gila River site. And being so emotional that Governor Mary Thomas was, I saw the sincerity, the amazing love. And she had mentioned she had been in Xi'an, China, and saw an ancient hut in Xi'an, China that looked exactly like the one that was at the Gila River Indian Community site. And I realized like a lightning bolt that we are connected, maybe not through faith, not through our color of our skin, but through humanity. And so Governor Mary Thomas has been a tremendous inspiration to us. And even Pat Morita got up and said, Governor Thomas, you don't have to apologize. The government forced us onto your land. You had no choice. But she goes, no, Pat, we should have said no. And that sincerity still stays with me and with Pat and with Howard and the ones that went before us. I think of Ted Namba, of course I think of Masanoshita. And so today, it's kind of like a proud godfather to this exhibit, to see all our communities coming together. I can't tell you on behalf of our families how proud and how much that we love to be able to come back full circle from 1998. And our home plate in 1998 went to the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. The following year was at the Baseball Hall of Fame in Tokyo. It's been around the world, but to see it come back 25, 26 years later, back home again, is a feeling that I can't even describe. To our amazing Arizona Heritage Center, the team, Liz, Rebecca, Kyle, David, all you board members, to embrace our artifacts, our history, our pioneers, to have the ABLE, Arizona Baseball Legacy Experience, Charlie Vassalera and Janet Marie Smith, because of seeing some of our artifacts in Mesa, we were able to go to Dodger Stadium this last season at the All-Star Game and to share with thousands of fans about our pioneers and about our history. So thank you so much. Bill Staples, one of our directors with our Nisei Baseball Research Project and the author of the Kenichi Zenimura book, is here. To the Akimo Othem Peepash River people, how that love and that connection we will continue with the Oakham Historical Museum. Thank you, Shirley Jackson, for giving us a personal tour today with Leland. And to realize that our history is part of your museum as well, with the artifacts that you'll see that came from the camp. So friends, we just want to thank you all for letting us complete this circle of love, this circle of humanity, and to be the proud godfather and all of you that will be part of this exhibit once you experience it. I can't tell you on behalf of our organization, our communities, how much the Gila River Indian community is part of our family, and you have embraced us back in World War II 80 years ago, and you're embracing us again 26 years later, and how you took care of our families 80 years ago and will continue in the future. So thank you so much, Lieutenant Governor Antone, for being here and to be part of this amazing event. And thank you all for coming and sharing, and I hope you enjoy our exhibit. I hope it entertains, I hope it inspires and educates as we go forward in the future. So thank you all for coming.
What an awesome evening. My name is Mike Phillips. I'm the president of the Arizona Baseball Legacy and Experience. We're a nonprofit group that's been around about a year, and our mission is to celebrate Arizona baseball. And for those who've spent some time in the state, you know that's a big outfield. It's a lot of ground to cover. Some of the stories are pretty obvious. like spring training and the Cactus League. Many of the stories are less obvious, like rebuilding home plate exhibit that we're commemorating tonight. All of our history, however, is precious and important. It's part of who we are, how we got here, and it continues to shape what we can become. We're honored to join with the Arizona Heritage Center and the Eastside Baseball Research Project on bringing the people and stories of rebuilding home plate to the public. I want to thank Koshio and Bill for partnering with us on this journey. Also, AHC staff members Liz Kapp, Rebecca Taba, Kyle Murray, for the vision and creativity that brought this exhibit to life. You guys have done a wonderful job. I want to recognize some additional folks who have helped our organization along the way. Board members Peter Corbett, Jim Walsh, and Steve Bird, thank you so much. Our advisory board members Jim Bruner and Susie Steckner, Michael Rooney and Randy Nussbaum for their assistance in transitioning us to a nonprofit. And finally, Dennis Robbins, director of the Scottsdale Charlies, and Jeff Meyer, former Cactus League president, for supporting us along the way and giving us guidance. I'm likely missing others in the audience tonight who've helped us, but believe me, I want to extend a heartfelt thanks for getting us to this point. These are important stories, as our guests tonight so eloquently talked about. By looking into the past, it really helps us shape the future and learn from the past and avoid the mistakes of the past. And so this exhibit has so much value to it, and we're just thrilled to be a part of it. I will now turn it over to our ABLE's Vice President, Charlie Vassalero, who wants to say a few words.
First of all, what a thrill it is to see such a great turnout tonight, and I'd like to thank everybody who took the time to come here today. I know some people have been here since 4 o'clock, which meant you had to leave work a little early too, so I definitely appreciate the effort. Koshio and I started on this journey together a long time ago. I met Koshio in the 1998 incarnation of this exhibit, which was at the Phoenix State Capitol at the Arizona, I believe, State Hall of Fame at the time. And back then that was called Diamonds in the Rough. And then last year we were at Dodger Stadium with baseball behind barbed wire, and now we have rebuilding home plate. And it's been such a wonderful evolutionary process. Not only are we teaching people these stories, but we pick up new ones that we're learning every day. And even today, we took a drive out to Sacaton and out to the Gila River community and popped in at the cultural center there. And I said, here we are. What comes next? We just it keeps snowballing. I also think that this venue and this time of year is the perfect confluence again of events and time and place. I don't know if you're calling this spring yet. It's January, but this will be here during spring training, which is symbolic, the whole renewal and rebirth and all the cliches associated with that time of year in baseball. But I think it really works. There's a big difference. When we were at Dodger Stadium, we were off in the outfield and it was great, but it was noisy and there was so much else going on. People came in and got to look at the exhibit, but it's nowhere near as thoughtful and contemplative as it is to be in this room and really absorb it. I think that the venue itself really lends itself well to taking it in and learning, and the presentation, the way it was all put together, the lighting in the room, just everything about it, everything you can see, it really came together very nice. I'm losing my voice a little bit, but I'm also very emotional from what I heard everybody say today. It was every speaker who came up here delivered some message of inspiration, which I think is a running theme with what we got going on here. So I guess that's about it. I just wanted to thank everyone and say what a thrill it all is. So. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand as we sing Happy Birthday to Kenichi, 123 years.
Thank you very much. So this is a really ceremonial moment, but also want to really celebrate for his birthday with his root and homeland and with a home base. So I want you to practice Kenichi Ro. That's his real name, okay? So happy birthday to Kenichi Ro, okay? All right, so then I brought this is a Native American food. So just, as Antone was mentioned, this is the root of this, our homeland. So just want to play, this is our appreciation to our godfathers of baseball and his birthday and all of your family and any relatives and yourself. It's a healing music and happy birthday to Mr. Kenichi Zenimura. Okay, everybody, thank you very much. Key is ha. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Kenichi Ro. Happy birthday to you.
You may be seated.
By the way, my jacket was coming from the karaoke. Thank you so much.
And now I'd like to call all the participants, those who have helped us across the time here, for the official ribbon cutting to open this new exhibit.
You gotta get you close. Get in close. Be friends. Closer, closer. COVID is over. White scissors coming.
Get one of these right here.
Oh, look at those. The big official one. Should we get a countdown? One. All right, let's count down from 5. Here we go. Help us out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The bar is open for only a few more minutes if you want to